Explain like I'm 5. Why wouldn't price caps work in stopping inflation? So I try to stay on top on economic news. And one thing that is confusing me is why government-enforced price caps on products wouldn't work. All I hear is about how strong the economy still is, record profits for corporations, and increasing wealth of the country's most affluent people. Wouldn't price caps cause one more wealth for the average consumer, two still profitable corporations? Albeit not the record profits that they continue to reach, three more equitable wealth distribution. Price caps cause shortages. Price is the natural equilibrium point where the demand for a good or service is equal to the supply of said good or service. Artificially lowering the price means that demand now exceeds supply, which means that not everyone who wants to purchase a good or service will be able to. The average person may have more wealth in the abstract, but that is somewhat meaningless if they are unable to use that wealth to buy anything. All the answers here already covers all the basis. I would recommend to read the book 40 Centuries of Wage and Price Controls: How Not to Fight Inflation. Is a great book that list and explain how all the attempts to control inflation trough price controls have failed miserably trough time and in pretty much every culture that have existed on the planet. Price controls have a multi-thousand-year history of failure, including playing a part in the fall of the Roman Empire. No one anywhere can ever have enough information to properly balance the myriad influences that lead to a perfect supply and demand situation. Free markets usually produce the best possible exchanges for the most people. Controlled markets fail quickly in both regards because they offer no flexibility. If there is a limit on how much profit a company can earn, the company has no incentive to produce more goods. That's why you see in places where they institute rent controls, there actually ends up being a shortage of affordable housing. PS5 and Switch during pandemic. They had a set retail price. What happened? Placing price caps too aggressively would potentially lead to a situation where businesses would rather not sell produce that good altogether instead of being forced to sell for a loss. Generally speaking, any attempt to manipulate prices or the economy for most goods will result in a plethora of unintended consequences. Price caps result in shortages and decreased quality of goods. Rent control is a great example in economics. There is a saying that second to bombing. Rent control is the best way to destroy a city. Instead of price caps, regulation allowing more production of the good in question, whether it be bread or apartments, will help bring prices down. It results in shortages and also encourages suppliers of the good to move out of that business and into a new one. Also, aside from the well-written and concise responses referencing markets and trade etc., I want to say that British Gas made 900 increased profits in the first half this year due to increased prices. This is not about being fair. We are raising our asses in the air to get fucked yet again without a single petrol bomb or riot in response. Disgusting business practices and too stupid of a population to form a response. Stick Love Island on and let's all forget about it over beers. Thumbs up. Price caps cause shortages. E.g., let's say you capped the price of gasoline at $4 per gallon. But, for other reasons that the government may or may not have control over, the actual cost to produce a gallon of gasoline exceeds $4. What do you think happens? The ignorant people who advocated for the price cap have this idea that they'll just sell gasoline at $4 per gallon and take a loss. What really happens is gasoline stops being produced. It has in the past. Nixon did it. And the inflation spiral halted. The problem is that big business doesn't like it. And they own the government. The real reason is that the country's most affluent people also essentially control all government policy. I'm so sick of hearing people whine about the rich increasing their wealth. You have the exact same access they have the stock market. You can earn exactly the same returns they can. Inflation happens because demand is greater than supply. A price cap doesn't address either side of that equation in a positive way. It would likely decrease supply even more if sellers can't get the margin that they want. They'll discontinue the product in favor of something they can sell for greater margin. Not buying an overpriced item would do more to fight inflation because it represents a decrease in demand. So any consumer could price cap any product by not buying it when the price is greater than the item's value. That's a standard market scenario. Let's imagine you are producing apple pies and selling them for $5. Then inflation hits. Your gas, apple flour prices rise. Your worker's salary rises and you are forced to still sell apple pies for $5. Would you still produce them at a loss? Here in Hungary, our gov actually enforced price cap on mostly groceries, milk and dairy products, potato, sugar, etc. It is a stupid idea that do not work. We could not buy products because shops do have big loss on those items, or they put the price difference on other things. For example, milk is cheap but cereals, drinks, snacks etc. has a markup. Gasoline was also price capped after a half year or so. You almost could not buy fuel for the car. And lot of gas stations went out of bussiness.